This video will go over how DispatchBot integrates and works with the DispatchBot mobile application from a dispatcher's point of view. So ahead of time, you have already scheduled your trips and assigned them to drivers. Here we have our DispatchBot driver with two trips, both for Pete Carroll. His A leg, B leg, he's getting Pete is going to be picked up at 9:45, dropped off at 10, then picked up at 12, dropped off at 12:15. On the right here, we have the driver's app, and this is from the driver's point of view on a smartphone right now. So they'll always see all the trips for their day on their main screen. Up here in the upper left is the menu button. This will show additional options, but their most current trip will always be at the top. If they can select the date as well, so they can look at yesterday's manifest, today's, tomorrow's, as well as the following day. But the driver at the beginning of their shift, they just tap the first trip in their list, gives them all the trip details. At the bottom of the application are always their options for any particular step. So right now, might be a little bit hard to see, but it says navigate, start, and no show. So at the beginning, since it's the first trip of the day for this particular driver, he's going to just tap start. What that does, it timestamps the time they started working on this trip in DispatchBot, and that is how you will get your updated status of driver on route. Once it refreshes in DispatchBot, I'm actually gonna, there it goes. It changes the status to driver on route and the time that they were on their way. So again, there's no more intervention from you for having to do these updates. And just at a glance, as long as your driver is continuing to use the mobile application, you'll be able to get trip statuses and updates and view the status of any particular trip at any given time. So now I know my driver is on his way. In the app, my driver will then, he can do navigate to get turn-by-turn directions. But once he gets to the pickup location, in this case, he's going to tap arrived, which timestamps the time he got there. He'll knock on the door, get the client into the vehicle and secured. Once the client's in the vehicle, your driver is ready to go. He taps picked up and then he enters his updated odometer reading. Save and mark complete, and now that particular step is done. They go back to their manifest and they start working on their next trip. In this case, they just picked Pete up, so they're going to drop him off. But in DispatchBot, it'll automatically change the status to picked up, the time your driver got there, and the time they left, so you can see the loading time. You can see if they were on time to pick the client up, how long they took to get the client on board, and for them to drive off. And again, it's all automatic. It changes the status to picked up automatically. There's no more intervention on your side. You're just monitoring and keeping track of your drivers now. Back to the driver app. Once the driver gets there, in this case, they're going to drop Pete off. They tap arrived. They can obtain the client signature. They unload the client. Once the client is in the building on their way to their appointment and your driver is back in the driver's seat ready to go, they tap complete at the bottom. They enter their updated odometer readings, save and mark complete, and now that particular leg is done. The odometer gets recorded automatically, the arrival times, departure times, and the signature. So they just go back to their manifest and they work on the next trip in their list. Back in DispatchBot, it updates the status to delivered, changes it to green automatically, records the arrival time and the departure time, as well as the odometer readings on the back end. So all your odometers get recorded, so you get an accurate number of miles that your drivers are traveling, as well as all the important time points needed for billing and for on-time performance. Again, from a dispatcher's point of view, your drivers will see any changes that you make to their manifest throughout the day. So for example, we have a will call here. Let's say he's ready to be picked up at 11, or we'll say 10:30. Once this is assigned and it updates in your driver's smartphone, they'll get that trip instantly. So here is that new trip, this will call trip, picking up Daffy Duck at 10:30, dropping him off by 11 o'clock. So your drivers can now perform that trip just like any other trip. They can record their odometer readings as well as their times. And if there's any cancellations, let's say Pete was admitted to the hospital and isn't going to be going back home. As a dispatcher, once I cancel that out and once it updates in the driver's application, um, the driver will see it as a canceled trip. It gets blacked out, moved to the bottom, and he knows not to perform that trip any longer. And additionally, if there's any moves or adjustments, so let's say Daffy isn't ready to be picked up at 10, he wants to be picked up at 11, again, your drivers will get all those changes instantly.